Hey fishing brothers and sisters, Zach Draskovic here, going to come at you with another map study video. If you want to follow along with me on Navionics, this is Watts Bar Lake in Tennessee. I've been getting a lot of requests lately for a bluegill spawn video. Now the bluegill spawn is something that's very important whether you like fishing for them or whether you are a bass angler. Bass love to eat bluegill, so whether you fish for bluegill or bass, this video is for you. Where I live on Guntersville, the bluegill spawn has not happened yet. We're just now getting into the heat of the bass spawn as I am making this video. What's one of the first places that I'm going to look for bluegill beds? Pretty common knowledge if you're looking for bedding fish, you know, going to the back of a cove is definitely something that you can look for, but not all coves are created equal. You want some, especially if you're looking for the earliest spawners with some north wind protection. Shorter pockets are going to have better wind protection than these bigger pockets because there's less time for the wind to accelerate going through here. So when you have a short pocket, that's good and all, but if it's too steep, you're not going to have much room for those fish to spawn. You want a little bit of a flatter section, and you also want a little bit harder bottom. So luckily on the TVA lakes, we have a lot of old road beds. So if you can find a place where these old road beds swing in here, it's a lot more likely that you're going to have harder bottom and good spawning habitat. Another thing that's very high percentage if you want to catch some spawning bluegill is these flatter rounded points. Like I'm typically looking in my neck of the woods, you know, in the 2 to 4 foot section. If I'm looking for brim beds, if they spawn a little bit deeper, you may have in your lake, you may have to adjust. But these rounded points, like you see here and here, and again we have a nice road bed coming in here, so I'm pretty sure these are going to have harder bottoms, and you could find some brim beds right in here. And again, not all rounded points are created equal. If you have these flat rounded points but they're in too much current between these islands, you're going to have a lot more current going through. So although this looks good, you have that road bed, you have that flatter point, I think you're less likely to have bluegill spawning here because the increased amount of water flow. Now I love fishing the current, but when you're looking for spawning fish, you know, they typically not going to want to lay their eggs in that kind of area. All right, we covered how some of these flat rounded points can be good, you know, these hard bottom areas that are easy to find where the road beds cut in. But what's another area that would be good to look for spawning bluegills? Some of you, if you're fishing from the bank, probably already know this, but man, boat ramps are great for spawning gills for some of the same reason that these roadbed areas are good. A lot of these on Navionics where you see shoreline construction, a lot of these are private ramps that people made next to their boat docks. If you can find some smaller private ramps, a lot of times at the sides of the ramp, you're going to have a good area for bluegill to spawn. So beside boat ramps, it's another great place to look for spawning bluegill. And that gets to the next place I want to talk about. You know, boat docks. You know, boat docks are a great place to find spawning bluegill. Something about the process of putting in those boat docks, you know, drives up some different shell and gravels and things that makes it to where boat docks are a great place to find spawning bluegills. And again, you're not looking for the real steep boat docks. You're looking, if you're wanting to find spawning bluegill, you're wanting some that are a little bit flatter and have the right amount of depth on them. So not every boat dock is gonna have them. You're gonna need to look for, you know, the areas that are having the right bottom composition and the right depth. And if you do your homework on Navionics, you'll be able to find those areas that are more likely to have them. Alright, before I end here, I just want to stress, if you want to find those sneaky brim beds that no one else is finding, look for these areas where these contour lines just swing out a little bit and create that flatter area. And in these areas, you're much more likely to have that harder bottom, that right bottom composition for the beds to create. See how the contour is skinny and it winds out. We had that road bed that I talked about coming in here, so this is much more likely to be harder bottom. And you know, a lot of these TVA lakes, we have a lot of grass, but in these areas you're going to have a lot more holes in the grass, and you patrol this with your trolling motor on high and you'll see those clear honeycomb areas if you come across a brim bed. Hope I gave you some ideas today on where to look for some spawning bluegill this year. This will help you out whether you're fishing for bluegill or bass, and if you follow these tips, I'm confident you'll load the boat.